Summer League Game 2 in the books for the Pacers. Another loss, this time to the Minnesota Timberwolves. Some of the same issues, and yet a totally different game, different players shining and falling short. We'll break it all down. The top 9 guys, again, top to bottom, key skills that popped up on today's Locked On Pacers podcast.
You are Locked On Pacers, your daily Indiana Pacers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What up, y'all? Happy Monday. Hope you had a great weekend, and welcome into another edition of the Locked On Pacers podcast, where we, of course, talk about the Indiana Pacers. As always, my name's Tony East. I cover the team for Forbes and SI, and today, still in Vegas, still watching the Pacers play up close in Summer League action. They fall to the Wolves on Sunday. Final score, I don't know why my tab isn't refreshing. 105-94. Another loss late. They were actually within one or tied in the last 2 minutes of the game and totally fell apart. The end of the third quarter was a disaster too. The result does not matter, as I've hopefully made clear during something. What matters is what you're seeing from these players. Do they look good? Do they look bad? What are they showing? I want to talk about some skills that actually do translate from Summer League and dive into who did and didn't play well. Kind of a flip from the first game in terms of who did and did not shine. If you're interested in Summer League Game 1 thoughts, that happened over the weekend. I did a bonus episode because I'm here in Vegas. Let's do it while we're here and timely, and we'll do it again today. And I'll probably do full pods just based on the games as long as everybody's still playing. I think I have a suspicion that we're going to see longer than last year for some of the returnees. Maybe Ben Shepard's done, but perhaps Jarus could keep going and other guys. We'll see. But we're only 2 games in, 3 more to go. We'll see. They have the same rotation in terms of the 10 guys who are playing, 9 guys who are playing in both of the first 2 games. And we're going to run through all of them before we get through general trends of the game. Turnovers have been just a disaster for the Pacers in Vegas. Once again, I'm going to cut them into 3 blocks, and this will probably be the blocks we use every time the rest of the way. And that's going to be the roster guys, so Jarus Walker, Ben Shepard, Kendall Brown. The draftees, so Johnny Furphy, Tristan Newton, and Enrique Freeman. And then the two-way / contenders kind of crew, which is Quinton Jackson, Oscar Tshiebwe, and Dakota Maas, who has now snuck into, I don't know what to call this category, which is why I called it that, but man, oh man, did he look awesome in Game 2, and we'll get to that in a second. Obviously, the lead's going to be the returnees most of the time, but today it's not. Today, the lead is Johnny Furphy. Best game for him among the 2 so far by a mile. Looked much better in this game. He was 7 for 14 from the field, but critically, this will sound bad, but let me get to the point. 2 for 8 from deep. So he was 5 for 7 on 2s, right? And that was the biggest thing you could notice if you watch this game, as the difference between game 1 and 2 is his kind of aggressiveness and ability to read his situation and attack the rim, right? In the first game, he took 3 2s and made 1 of them. In this game, he took 7 inside the arc shots, and he still got up 3s, right? He made 2 of them, including one really smooth one where he came inside the arc and popped back out at the end of the shot clock, hit 2 free throws as well, finishes with 18 points, game high for the Pacers, 7 boards. We'll talk about that in a second. An assist, 2 steals, and 2 blocks. Fouling like crazy, some defensive stuff, certainly concerning for him in this game in a Summer League setting, but way better than his first game and showed much more sharpness and ability to read the game, react to what kind of closeout he's getting, and then make a play from there, especially as a play finisher. Some of my notes from this game, one of his first baskets was a beautiful drive pass to close out for a bucket at the rim, and he didn't do any of that hardly in the first game. He got to the paint a few times, but to see that right away, just the instant confidence boost, the instant knowledge of what these kind of games take, seeing him playing much better was a big jump up, and that kind of carried throughout the game. And then later in the first quarter, he had a really nice rebound in traffic where the ball hit his hands and he just grabbed it. I know that sounds stupid, but he's good hands, right? When the ball hits his hands, he does not flub it away on these rebounds. That's how he had 7 of them. Only Oscar Tshiebwe, and Jarus Walker had more than him. He actually had a very nice game on the glass. I don't know if that'll ever be a high-level skill for him, but for a Pacers team desperate for rebounding, if he can just be a guy that grabs them, gets them, that's huge. His first half was just sensational in general. I thought he was by far their best player to that point. At halftime, he had 13 and 4 already, right? So doing a good job. Pacers were barely ahead or behind. I can't remember. It was a close game almost the whole way through. And he had a beautiful take again in the third quarter. He played really strong. So The shooting we saw in the first game when he was 3 for 8 from deep, that's great. This time he used the shooting to get to other shots. You, of course, want to see him shoot better than 2 for 8 from deep, but much better Johnny Furphy performance. You can kind of see the outline of what this could be offensively, right? Shooting type who can react to closeouts, react to defensive rotations, make plays from there, whether it's passing, whether it's finishing, whatever in summer league, but those kind of skills matter. Getting 8 threes up really matters to me. I'll talk about that in a later episode of stuff that actually does statistically translate from summer league in terms of statistically. But I liked Johnny Furphy's game, and we'll stick with his category to close this one out. Tristan Newton, 2 games for Tristan Newton have been played, but really the second game was 2 games within itself. Let me explain. Tristan Newton's first half was really good. He had some awesome vision, right? He was slinging that thing around, still love his passing at his size. He had 7 assists. That's great. And his first half stopped the goodness just when it ended. He had a great take into the lane and dumped it off for Johnny Furphy, and I wrote it in my notes, and it was awesome, and Furphy finished, and Tristan Newton looks great. And then he had a horrible close to the game. His second half was terrible. The end of the third quarter stretch for him specifically in the final 90 or so seconds, I think he had 3 or 4 turnovers just there and a tech. Really, really rough stretch for him. He was 1 for 6 from the field. He got an and one, which was very nice. It was he got a rebound and then the and one. Rick Carlisle loved it. He was clapping on the sidelines. It was a really nice play for him there. And I still like the jumbo creator size passing, but the turnovers were really rough, especially in the second half of this game. Horrible to close that third quarter. Did not have the defensive impact you want to see. So he's got to make some shots. The passing, you see it, right? He's led the team in assists both games, I believe now at 7 turnovers, was by far the highest on the Pacers in this game. 4 fouls, -7 for a reason. That was one of the lowest numbers of the reserves. I want to see him make some shots, obviously, at his size. I really like the framework of what kind of player he can be. Those are the kind of players I gravitate towards. And you saw it in the first half of this game. It did not maintain into the second half, and that's something that I'm looking forward to seeing what he can do better, because it was really the tale of 2 games for him after an awesome start. And now everybody's new favorite player, Enrique Freeman. What a game again. He is maybe the only guy who you can say was like above expectation in both games so far is Enrique Freeman. Once again, very good in this one. 5 for 5 from the field. He made every single shot he took, including a 4-point play on a 3. A 3! He had to work on his 3 last season to prove to scouts that he was not just a traditional 5. He's not really a shooter yet. And yet he buried it with a foul. 14 points for him, 3 boards, hustles like crazy, had an assist, only 1 turnover. He just hustles. He makes good plays. He's so infatuating to watch. He's so encouraging. He claps. He's smiling all the time. He's just good. He just looks good out there on the floor. I think he said that was his first 4-point play he could remember, ever. Very good play from a very good player. He has very good patience around the basket, something I'm noticing. When he catches in traffic and he wants to finish, he will pump and wait, or he'll go under a guy if he has to and wait. He times all that stuff very well, and that's a very refined skill for someone of his age. He had awesome also in this game on 1 possession. It was a clutch possession too. He was guarding Josh Minot, who, if you don't know who that is, he's actually an NBA player. He's on the Wolves roster, I believe, with a contract, and he locked him up with good isolation defense. It was an impressive sequence from him. Minot was a 2022 draftee, and has 47 games of experience for the Wolves, including some playoff outings, right? He is an established NBA player. Freeman did a great job, granted on 1 possession, but a great job on him. And then, important to note, as we trudge on through the rest of Summer League, he closed the game. It was a close game, and they had him in the closing 5 at center, and he earned it, right? Again, both games, he's been, to me, the only player above expectation. Some guys have met them once or twice. The closing 5 in this game was Newton, Furphy, Walker, Shepard, and Freeman, although Newton came in for Jackson with a couple minutes ago after Jackson's first good quarter of really the whole Summer League. We'll get to him in a second, but really, really good Enrique Freeman game. Again, he continues to be one of the most impressive guys out here. We'll talk about long-term ramifications, contract stuff, but his floor was already a 2-way, and he will certainly be within the Pacers' orbit this coming season. He looks great in these Summer League games and was once again. So the draftees, Furphy, great, his best game. Freeman, really great, his maybe best game. And Newton had a really great half and then a not so great half. Plenty more guys to get to. Let's go to Jarus. Let's go to Ben Shepard. Let's get to Kendall Brown in segment 2 here. Jarus Walker raining fire from 3 the rest of his game. Let's talk about it. Before we get to any of that, though, we need to talk about Gametime, an authorized ticket marketplace of Major League Baseball, which makes getting tickets faster and easier to those games. Price on the Gametime app actually go down the closer you get to the first pitch, and all that applies to other sports too, with killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their lowest price guarantee. Gametime takes the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets. Go wherever you want. I watched the WNBA in New York using Gametime. It was awesome. Everything they say is totally true. Views from your seat feature, awesome and spot on, by the way. When I went to Barclays, it was exactly what I ended up sitting in. All in pricing, so you get your total up front, no surprise fees at checkout, and you can toggle that. They have zone deals. They have flash deals, last-minute deals. They have tickets right up to the start of the game. And my favorite, of course, their lowest price guarantee means that if you find tickets elsewhere for less in your section in a row, Gametime will credit you up to 110% of the difference. Purchase is covered by a flexible customer service policy. It's the best way to buy tickets. Take the guesswork out of the process and download the Gametime app. Create an account. Use the code LOCKEDONNBA. You'll get $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off at Gametime. Download Gametime today. Last minute tickets. Lowest price guaranteed. We are back here on Locked On Pacers. Thanks for making us your first listen today. And every single day, your second listen has to be, who have I watched dominate out here in Vegas? Alex Sarr looked pretty good in tight spaces. Stephon Castle, I was just watching him play Reese Shea before I walked back over here to do this podcast. Locked On Spurs, actually check that out. Hear more about Stephon Castle. He was not playing today, I should say, against the Hawks. I was watching the Spurs dominate the Hawks. He had a great first game. Reese Shea was looking pretty good too. So Locked On Spurs, Locked On Hawks for your second listen. Let's do the returning Pacers for segment 2 today, or at least guys with standard contracts. Jarus Walker, Ben Shepard, Kendall Brown. Not a ton of notes on Shepard and Brown. You'll see why when we get to them. Jarus Walker, I mean, he's going to be the focus of basically every game, given what his situation is. Early in the game, my first Jarus Walker note was someone give Jarus Walker the ball, man. He took a 3 and airballed it for his first shot, which that's ugly. That's not good. But then he didn't get it for forever, which was so strange. It took Newton coming back in for him to kind of get involved again, get some touches. And once he did, things started to turn around. He hit his next 3 threes, guided the Pacers back into the lead. That was huge. He was really asked to do a lot handling the ball in this game, sometimes initiating, being too point guardy. Not sure that's the Jarus Walker role. I get trying to work on that kind of stuff, get it into his game, but wasn't really clicking for him enough in this one. But he did end up getting up a lot of threes. This was an unbelievable Jarus Walker 3-point night. He took 11 threes, and the Pacers shot it pretty well. He made 5 of those. That's very good. They'll take 45% on 11 attempts anytime. He missed all his 2s. They got to be better there, right? He was great getting to the line in the first game. I think he had 7 free throws against, and that's no attempts even in this game. So that was less good. So kind of a mixed bag just looking at that kind of stuff. 8 rebounds was good. More assists and turnovers this time. That's good. So a fine game, 15 points all on threes. Not really what you want to see from a guy you're looking for power and physicality from. But 5 threes is good for a guy trying to get on the floor. Right when Newton came in, got it to Jarus, pull up 3. That was good. He was hot from deep early. He had an awesome full court pass in the second quarter right in front of us to get Johnny Furphy a dunk on the other end. It was probably his best pass of Summer League so far. I thought that was a really noteworthy kind of play. Style is not the name of the game, but that was a nasty deep pass to actually do. All his points were threes halfway through the third quarter. I thought that was noteworthy, and that held through the whole game. His defense was not good enough in this game. We didn't talk too much about the game, but I thought that was. I'm curious what he thought of his defensive performance in this game. Just not enough bulk and oomph to it. It's fine. Again, here's my take on his defense for forever. For those who've never heard it, he's so instinctually sound. When he needs to make a decision on what to do away from the play, on the ball, whatever, the thing his instincts tell him to do is very often right. But that said, he does have these plays where it's not instinctual when he goes for a gamble or he's too jumpy, and that kind of stuff really gets him out of position. And then his recovery is awesome because his instincts guide him right back to where he needs to be, but he's out of position in the first place, right? So not a great defensive game from Jarus. I think he's got to be more physical, hit some guys, stay down in a stance, just lock somebody up. No one was incredible on the Wolves. It's not like he was so bad that someone got hot. I think Terrence Shannon was probably the best Minnesota player in this game. But you'd like to see better from Jarus on the defensive end. He had a game-tying 3 late in the fourth, and then immediately took a really crummy kind of heat check 3 that took the Pacers out of it, and they never got back in it late in that game. I get when you've made 5 out of 10 threes, taking another one, but maybe not immediately like that. So I'd give this game an from Jarus. Like, the 3 is really meaningful, right? I don't want to diminish him hitting 5 threes in a game that one of them was ugly, but the rest were pretty meaningful. Like, that's good. If Jarus Walker can be that kind of guy at some point, that's huge. 8 rebounds, that's nice, but still some stuff I want to see more. Just power. That's the word I keep wanting to see from him. And he had a lot of that in the first game with that high-low stuff from Shibwe, dunking, playing in traffic. More of that is the Shibwe that I want to see. Sorry that my chair is creaky and the AC unit is so loud here in my Vegas room. Ben Shepard. Better in the first game, certainly. He actually made shots. Half his threes dropped. He was 2 for 4 from deep, 2 free throws, 3 for 7 from the field. So 10 points on 7 shots it's fine. 3 boards, 1 assist, 3 turnovers, 5 fouls. I'm not sure what to say here because clearly, again, I said this before this even started. This is not just an in the moment to defend Ben Shepard kind of take. He's not a summer league type of player in terms of like, he's going to dominate because he's older. No, his skill set is I'm a low mistakes, 3-ish, D-ish wing who can guard and tries like hell on defense and makes threes when I'm open. A lot of that stuff requires a really good creator next to him. And the Pacers are very limited in that way on the summer league team, which again, I commented on their roster before this started too. So I didn't expect him to look awesome. This was better, right? He actually made threes. He made some huge ones. He made a huge one, in the fourth. And you can see him trying to work in some attack the basket kind of stuff. I think he's better when it comes to him across the court and the defense is shifting towards him. He can get guys off balance there, but he's not getting all the way to the rim on those. He had 1 or 2 nice tight angle passes in this game, but he's not just like, I'm going to dribble past this guy and create a shot. Not at least at this stage of his career. And pick and roll hasn't really happened with him. It's not for or against him. It just isn't a thing that's happened. So we haven't seen a ton of new skills is kind of what my note is. Like creation, he's trying, but it hasn't really been there. And this is sort of what I expected, right? With this team and this exact roster, this is what he's going to look like. He's going to look fine. He's going to look like a guy who can defend pretty well at times. He was a very good defender in the first game, especially in that first half. He had half his threes in this game. That's great. 10 points on 7 shots is fine. He's a second-year player, so the thought is that this would be a more dominant type of player, but that's just not his game. And I don't say this to defend him. It's not like we talked to him after the game. He didn't think he played that great. He wants to play better. Maybe he plays another one, but this is summer league for Ben Shepard. It's just what his skill set kind of is going to be for him. And I'm not learning anything. And what are the Pacers learning from this experience, right? Like this, we kind of know what Ben Shepard is. So who knows how much more he plays. He's the guy to me that they would pull out first because they already know that kind of stuff. And they have more questions or more to learn or more long-term roster thoughts with the rest of the guys out there on the floor. Kendall Brown. Okay, first of all, I got to make fun of some of you guys. So Kendall Brown did not play well. I will start there. Kendall Brown did not have a good game at all. Kendall Brown finished 1 for 5 from the field, 4 turnovers, 5 fouls, 3 assists, 2 rebounds, 4 points. That's rough. They actually won his minutes by 5. His defense was okay. He made half his foul shots, but 1 for 5, making half your foul shots. That's not very good, right? Really sloppier, uglier game from him. People were talking during the game like, cut him now. Ooh, this is terrible. The last straw. Were you people not alive on Friday when he was maybe their best player? Jarus probably a little better, but he was good. He had 9 free throw attempts in that game. He drove past guys that got to the rim and drew fouls. Like, yeah, he stunk on Sunday. Duh. I'm not going to say that he didn't, but he had a good game 2 days ago. Can we give the guy the whole summer league experience to evaluate this before making these grand conclusions about the roster? I'll say that about everybody. I was very surprised about those insane quick reactions, even though he admittedly did not play very well in this game. And, he's got to show more than this, right? Like his next game is going to matter. All 5 of them will matter, that or however many he plays. But he did show more juice in the last game on like catch, get by somebody. He's just not a shooter, right? The raw athletic kind of guy has got to shoot. He's got to add some other skill. That's why I asked him about that after the last game. Like it mattered to me that someone with athleticism and pop was showing a ball skill with it. In that first game against the Nets, he was combining that speed and athleticism to put it on the floor, get by somebody, get to the rim and draw a foul. That is not something that was common for him in the past. And so that's meaningful. That did not happen in this game. He did not make any threes. It was not a good performance. His defense he's fine. He needs to be better. So I think that it's wrong to overreact and just say that's the final straw. It's over, blah, blah, blah. Because he played well 2 nights ago. But obviously he's got to play better than that, right? If he has a game or two more like that in Summer League, yeah, everyone who said that will be right, of course. 3 more guys. The two-way crew. And Dakota Maas, who congrats, you get to be a part of these discussions because you're the only other guy playing and maybe in the mix for a 2-way after how he played today. I'll talk about more on that and more to close out today's show. Back here on Locked On Pacers. Thanks for making us your first listen today and every single day. Cody Williams was good. Locked On Jazz could be a place to go. That's a loaded Summer League team. Terrence Shannon for the Wolves looks good. Locked On Wolves could be a good second place for you to go if you're looking for more on that. Lots of stuff. There's been lots of fun out here. Insane dunk by Zaire Smith. Locked On Cavs with Denny Cunningham, new host. Could be a fun place to go for all of you for your second listen today. Let's keep trudging here. Quinton Jackson. Not a good first game. Everybody knew it. Everybody saw it. It was terrible. I looked like an idiot for saying he was going to be a really good Summer League performer. Here's what we know about Quinton Jackson. Here's what's come to be the case. He's not a point guard. The thing with the Mad Ants that made him look great is he was not the point guard. He was playing next to Isaiah Wong, who's not an ideal point guard, but at least brought it up, or Elfrid Payton, or just someone else who made him just be like a scoring kind of guard. He's not a 1, right? His passing is not premier. It has not been for all this tournament. In the Summer League, he had 4 assists today and 2 turnovers, right? That's fine. He didn't, but much better in general. Did not miss a shot. 4 for 4 from the field in his 15 minutes. Hit 2 threes, got to the line for a free throw, had a block. Much better, right? This was closer to what I thought you'd see, is like a guy who, when he got to the rim and can finish, he can hit an open 3 when the opportunity comes. He's just playing the 1 on a team where it's hard. Like, he's asked to create a lot because they don't have a lot of creators, and he's not a point guard, so he's having to set guys up, even though it's not his game. But much better, and especially better in the fourth. He really came alive in a stretch in the middle of the fourth quarter that turned the game back in a way that you thought for a second the Pacers could actually, win this one. They didn't, obviously, but he got really going with some buckets and some passes. He made a 3 with about 7 minutes to go, and then he made a quick get by somebody layup 19 seconds later, and that stretch cut it from an 11-point game down to 8. And then he made a free throw on an and 1. So then it was down to 7. Next possession, dimes up Dakota Maas for a 3 on a beautiful cross-court pass, flying up the floor in transition. Took 4 seconds to get from rebound to that 3. And then the next possession, he had another dime to Dakota Maas for a 3. Early, he got it to Sheba, who got there. Whatever. He made good plays on that play. They cut it all the way down to 3. So they were down as many as 11. And his play, Terrence Shannon hit 2 free throws in there, made it manageable. Pacers did tie it up later in the fourth. That stretch, he looked great. Right, he was clicking, he was getting to the rim, he was finding the right passes. That's what I thought would be more often from him. That has not been the case. Again, I hope you can see why I said that. He can get rim pressure whenever he wants. He's got scoring chops, but it hasn't been that way. But that stretch was great. This game in total was fine. He didn't mess up as much before that stretch and then finally got going in the fourth. I wonder if that will give him some confidence to kind of pop a little more in the coming games. Because again, he's restricted free agent with that 2-way qualifying offer out there. He's fine. He's potentially fighting for something in terms of a 2-way spot or a spot on the team, and that was a much better performance. Also out there as a restricted free agent, did not play as much in this game. Enrique Freeman got to close over him. Oscar Tshiebwe, rebounding, always going to be there. 9 boards, 4 of them in the offensive end, but some of those are off his own misses. He goes 1 for 5 in this game, gets fouled a bunch on some of those down low, goes 2 for 5 from the foul line. That's 4 points on 5 shooting possessions. That's not very good. His defense still totally needs work. He'll get dragged out on a screen and be roaming in the lane and just doesn't find the right play, doesn't find his defender in time. He's got to be better as a defender because the rebounding, we know, it's awesome, right? It's fantastic for someone of his ability level. He's still in that 2-way mix, certainly, but wasn't closing this game. He's got to find a way. The passing was the thing in the first game, right? He had 3 assists in this game too, but the passing was the thing in the first game that was just awesome, or at least a step forward. Last year, you just got to keep seeing that kind of stuff. I could see him working on elbow jumpers all the time. I want to see him uncork one of those. Also on the Tshiebwe notes, he had a transition crossover and just flew. It was awesome. I was like, whoa, Oscar Tshiebwe, the transition blur. It was a crazy play. It was a nice moment for him to have a play like that. That was one of his, that might have been his only make in this game. He's just such a summer league kind of guy, right? There's a lot of missed shots and gross stuff going on in some of these summer league games. And Oscar Tshiebwe, the rebounding man, just cleans it up, reset sometimes, pass it out to a shooter, get it to the guard, just reset the play. Like that kind of stuff matters. It's important. And I think it's been good to have that for the Pacers. Like Tom Hankins, the Mad Ants head coach, joked last year that their best offense was miss and let Tshiebwe get the rebound. And he was joking and being in jest, obviously, but you see why he made that joke watching these games. So Tshiebwe, just we know what he is. He's got to show me something more. And he did in the first game. He was just fine. He was way above expectation the first game. Last guy who's gonna look. I'm gonna talk about him a little differently if he keeps playing like this. Dakota Maas. Dakota Maas, only 2 years of service in the NBA, which means he is eligible for a two-way contract, which is going to matter because there's two obvious two-way guys on the Pacers, Enrique Freeman and Tristan Newton. Who's going to fill that third spot? Quinton Jackson, Oscar Tshiebwe. They have an open roster spot. Matthias has 14 games of NBA experience. He started 2 games. He has a double-digit scoring night. That dude could shoot it at Purdue. Hasn't really clicked for him in the NBA just yet, but you saw in this game what that background looks like. Whew, that's what that guy can be as an NBA player. Dakota Maas, 15 points. Matching Jarus Walker. Only Johnny Furphy outscored Dakota Maas for the Pacers in this game. 4 threes, 3 foul shots. Made plays in the lane to get to the line. 3 boards, 1 block. Didn't turn it over. Only a foul. They won his minutes by 1. I don't know what Dakota Maas is in terms of, is this actually an NBA player? Is this something worth investing in at that point? Right? He's 29. He turned 29 on Thursday, I believe, like the day before their first game. But, I mean, if those of you who follow Purdue, you know what his game is. He's been in the NBA before for a reason because people bought that he, in theory, this wing that can shoot could be valuable. Well, in this game, he was a wing that could shoot and do some other stuff, right? He's just running around the top of the key, setting some fake screens and popping into space and being a threat for the defense. And then, let me make the right pass right there. It's very impressive on his way to his 15 points. I'm not going to put him in the mix for a two-way yet from one good game, but he is eligible for one and was very good in this game in a way that is like, maybe this is a guy you'd want in your G League program and potentially to squeeze in the NBA as a wing. But, some people, I don't view this for every two-way slot. Some people think two-way should just be all development projects. Matthias is already 29. I think you should certainly have some development projects on your two-ways, maybe not all 3 of them, but he is eligible for it. And he certainly played like a guy looking to earn a spot on an NBA team and played very well in this game, and he will continue to be talked about if he plays like that. And not just because he's the 9th guy who we're talking about, because we're talking about everybody who played. We're talking about Dakota Maas because he played well. I missed one note from this game. Well, one is that John Wall was courtside, which I personally loved. The other note I had is right in front of me. Tristan Newton was guarding Jalen Clark. Jalen Clark, two-way player for the Minnesota Timberwolves. They're the same height. Jalen Clark's thought of as a wing. Tristan Newton's a guard. They're both about 6'5". Tristan Newton's very tall. I should have included that when talking about him, but that note got off to the side in my sheet. But, I mean, he's just big, right? And that matters at his position. So Pacers 0-2, not looking like a championship team as expected out there in Vegas, but some good, some bad so far from all of their key guys. Third game coming on Tuesday. You know, I'll have the coverage right here on Locked On Pacers. We got to get to other stuff from Vegas, too. Eventually, I got to talk to James Wiseman and Obi Toppin about their free agencies, tons of other stuff to come out. Talk to Furphy today, too. So lots more to come here on the Locked On Pacers podcast. And this week, one episode recorded here. So my next episode will once again be in this hotel room, and then we're done with that. Talking Team USA with Brendan Rourke, and then we'll talk Team Canada and Nemhard later in the week. Haliburton, of course, with USA. Summer League wraps up this weekend, and then next week we'll flow more into the doldrums of the offseason when the games are done. So hope you guys enjoyed today's show. If you did, I'm on Twitter at Tony R. East. Best place to reach me and ask me questions if they're reasonable. And at Locked On Pacers, or comment down below on YouTube. I do read those as well. Thank you guys a ton for listening and enjoying the coverage from me out here in Vegas. I'll be heading back tomorrow. Till then, everybody have a wonderful day.